some of the easiest things to fix are just purely around your perceptions and your mindsets. We're in the middle of a mindset shift series focused on 4 of them that we're convinced if you were to just change these 4 mindsets, it would easily help you, your team, and sometimes even an organization get to the next level. We're going to hit a tough one today. It's called decentralization. It's something that our industry is really struggling with. And not just are we going to talk about it, we're going to actually have a great executive who's working through this process right now, help you understand what's working for them, what's not working for them, and why they've made a decision to make the transition. Welcome to the PioneerCast. I'm DeWayne Ables, founder and president of Pioneer IQ. I certainly hope over the course of the next few minutes, you pick something up that helps you understand how to better lead your team and make great decisions so that every day you and your team are showing up to do something extraordinary to serve your communities and help yourself, your team, and your organization grow versus just providing a paycheck. We all have more potential, and I'm hoping that this segment will help you to achieve more of yours. If you or someone on your team truly wants to better engage people and maximize their potential and get the most out of their team, I'm borderline begging you to get them to a boot camp. At these boot camps, I guarantee you 3 things are going to happen. Number 1, you and the people that you bring from your team are going to come together as a team and gel more so than any other time. Number 2, you're going to help them make life decisions about who they are, what they're great at, and what they could become at home and on your team and at work. And then thirdly, you're going to be able to see into what you could become as a leader, what it means to lead in 2024, and how to maximize the potential of the people around you, both at home and at work. Take the next steps. Go to our website, pioneerq.com. We've got these all across the country, and sign up. So we're in the middle of this podcast called The 4 Mindset Shifts Required to Lead in 2024. And this particular mindset shift is really prevalent in our industry. And it's partly because we're all coming off of a generation where a centralized group of people and a centralized area of intelligence was more efficient. And what we're learning is efficient isn't always effective, especially when we're dealing with people. I have the pleasure of Mike Hughes joining us today on the podcast. Mike, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your willingness to join us on this podcast because this isn't an easy subject. And you guys are totally knocking out of the park with making the mindset shift of decentralizing, and you're putting your money where your mouth is. And we need to hear it. So thank you for being willing to share what's working and what's not with us.
Yeah, thank you, DeWayne. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
So, Mike, you and I have been working together for, I don't know, quite some time. We've got quite the history with PEC. Before we jump into you sharing your story on the journey that PEC's been on and moving from centralized to decentralized and what held you back and how this is helping you now, before we get into all that, like, fill us in. Like, who is Mike? What's Mike all about? You know, the person Mike, not necessarily the executive Mike.
Sure. Well, I have been working for about 30 plus years in the profession. I'm married. I have 5 kids. My wife and I have 5 kids. They're all grown adults now. Our youngest is a freshman in college. She still lives at home. So we're almost empty nesters, but not quite. Um, we live in a suburb of Wichita, Kansas, where our company headquarters is. PC's headquarters is in Wichita. And that's the short version.
Well, Mike, fill us in a little bit. A lot of people may not know of PEC. I mean, obviously, you guys are an engineering firm, and I think most people would know PEC and engineering, but I think there's way more to the story of PEC. Fill us in, like, help us understand why someone would want to work at PEC or work with PEC.
Well, there are a lot of engineering consulting companies in the industry. There are a lot of them in our area. We have a lot of very good competitors. But what really sets PEC apart is our focus on energizing communities. It's part of our purpose statement, part of our culture. We are very invested in the success of communities, their prosperity, their economic development, their quality of life, the safety of their communities. So,
Mhm.
our purpose statement is to energize communities, shape the future, and guide the way. So we want to be a great consultant, provide a very valuable service to our clients, and in a way that helps their community grow, prosper, and develop.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. It's one thing for a company to have a purpose statement that sounds great, but it's been interesting. I've been, with you guys for many years and was a part of the team that painfully put that together as you were uncovering that. But it is kind of cool to be in a room and watch your leadership team work with practice leaders or other team leaders. And I'm sitting there watching y'all hold them accountable to actually being the team that guides the way, that energizes communities, that energizes relationships, that energizes, visions, and what communities need. So it's cool to see you actually believe that. Some people say stuff like that, but they don't always believe that. So I love that about you. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, um, for most people don't realize this, but PEC, like most engineering firms, started out at one size, and then we got to work with them, and then they started growing a lot, and then kind of hit a plateau. Um, Walk us through the first part of the story where you got clarity, purpose, and vision, and you really took off. I mean, really took off. It's been awesome to watch, and then you hit a plateau. Talk to us about that whole journey there from the company perspective.
We recognized that the way we had been doing business and the way we were structured as a company was going to continue to provide a very measured organic growth. It was going, there was growth, and it wasn't bad growth. It just wasn't as much growth as we would like for the company to achieve. And we identified some pain points related to what was keeping us from attaining that higher growth. And some of that was the structure of the company, and some of it was the way that we think about how to do business and how to lead people and teams.
So, and I think what's important to delineate there is you certainly saw an extreme revenue growth, scenario in some of those years, right? But you're talking about just the ability for the organization to grow from an infrastructure, process, people, teams, and tools perspective, that type of growth. Because I love your thought there, but I do think most people think when you say growth, you mean revenue, and you're talking much more important than revenue because your revenue was growing. It was more about the infrastructure, process, systems, and tools and people kind of deal. Okay,
And the amount of impact that we're having with the communities that we serve. So we feel
got
that
it.
we have a very good value proposition to clients. And when we define a community, it's not just a municipality. It's all of the vertical horizontal infrastructure of the community. So it's
Mm,
commercial, education, it's healthcare, it's industrial manufacturing, it's a lot of different things. So when we look at a community and how we want to energize them, we're looking at the full spectrum of markets that our services serve.
mhm. Got it. Okay. So, when we re-engaged with you guys here a couple years ago, one of the things that was really clear to me that you said so succinctly was we're on a plateau, not because the communities don't need us, but it's because we need more people to lead teams and deploy further into these communities to help them more. And that really resonated with me. And so and again, this goes back to that decentralization and centralization. So in that point, you realize that you were in a centralized scenario where really all of your senior level executives and all of your corporate support and everything was really at your headquarters in Wichita.
Correct.
And you were saying, "Hey, we have all where our we've," and you did. You spread your footprint into, Tulsa and Oklahoma City and Fort Collins and some really great emerging markets. And you were saying, "Hey, we got to equip people to lead teams and deploy more in those communities to serve them better." Is that a true reflection there?
That is absolutely true. So we recognize the need to inject and develop leadership, particularly in our branch locations, so that we could grow those branch locations to provide the same level of service and to the same degree and number of communities or similar to what we have done in South Central Kansas out of Wichita.
Kind of on this next vision journey that you're on now. What I love is I love how you've evolved your vision, and you've connected your previous journey to this current journey, right? And in that process, Joe Surmeyer took over as CEO and had built an executive team there of men and women that he certainly trusts. But you guys are really on a cool journey and a great trajectory. Um, Talk everyone through some of the things that you're doing now to to spread more leadership around and to be able to decentralize. Talk us through some examples of what you're doing so that leaders who might be in that centralized mindset can hear what you're doing and learn from that. What are some things you're doing to decentralize?
One of the most important things that I think we are doing is the development of a position that we're calling community engagement.
Mm,
And so we have appointed some of our staff that were with us before we made this reorganizational change. We've appointed them to positions to the position of vice president of community engagement. And we have one in Oklahoma City, one in Fort Collins. We're working on one for Tulsa, and then we'll move to Kansas City.
mm,
That position is responsible for the engagement of that office in the communities that we either currently serve or want to serve. So it's the intentional and purposeful blend of community involvement and business development. And
got it.
those positions are high level leadership positions. They are in the branch location. They're not in Wichita, our headquarters. They're in the location, and they lead teams of people from all of the disciplines that are in that location in all of the markets that we serve, and any additional resources that we need from outside that location to both involve PEC in either existing communities that we serve now or ones that we want to serve,
Mhm.
and to pursue work in those communities.
Just curious, and I'm off the script here with this question, but obviously you're not. I'm assuming, and I know most of them, so I know you're not. You're not hiring, young emerging leaders for that particular position, that role. Some of them are pretty seasoned guys and gals. Um, are they are they digging that? Like, how are they responding to that opportunity as you're recruiting them in to help with that or promoting them from within? How are they responding to that opportunity?
It's been really, yeah, I've loved watching it. It's been really fun to watch. They're very excited about it. We haven't had people in those positions for very long, and they are very eager. They're very excited. They love the the purpose and vision of that role, because it essentially is the company's purpose and vision.
Mhm.
So they're very excited about it, and we're already seeing, even just in a few short months, we're already seeing a lot of really good things happening because we have those people there. You know, the traditional seller doer model, you have someone that specializes in a certain type of work, and they go chase that work, and then they and their team produce it. And so we would have, you know, multiple people that would do that, and of course, people have various skills, and they play to their strengths, and so we'd have a few people that were really good sellers and they did more selling than doing, and some that did more doing than selling. And it was just kind of a hodgepodge of business development and community involvement. And this
Mm.
allows us to have a point person who has that as their responsibility and is leading the overall team. Hey, we really need somebody at this organization to contribute to that organization for the benefit of that community, and it's also good for us too. So, there's a lot of mutual benefit in inspiring people to engage in communities in that way. So the people that are in those roles have really been a spark for not just for their own engagement with their job, but with the rest of the teams there in those locations.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic. Just as a side note, I mean, absolutely one of my highlights from last year in 2023. We were in the middle of a boot camp, and one of your new market leaders that we had literally chased for months, prayed that he would come work with y'all. Um, was in a boot camp. I think he'd been there 2 or 3 months at that point, and he stood in the middle of boot camp, as we were talking about leadership commitment, and he goes, "I've already made a commitment. I'm committed to this purpose and vision of the company, his purpose and vision of this role." And he goes, "I'm just committing to promise I don't wanna screw it up." And I thought, man, like, you could just tell he was fulfilled and personally prospering, not because he's getting a great paycheck, which I'm sure he is, but it was like the culmination of everything that he'd ever been about and was getting to do, and it was like, I mean, you could like, we had 2 college guys there. We had one guy from K-State, and he came back, he's like, "Man, when I'm 58, I hope I feel that way about my job." It was just really cool to see that. So I'm glad
Right.
you brought that up. So what's another thing, Mike, that you guys might be doing? You brought up the market leader thing, and I love the
Yeah.
tie to the purpose and vision for that role. What's another thing that you would recommend to someone as they're making that transition from centralized to decentralized?
In our business, the project manager is a super key role, and I think that's true for all consultants. I think it's true for anybody in the AEC industry, right? Project
Mhm.
manager, rubber meets the road with the project manager. We had over time, we had out of necessity, I think, we have a lot of really great project managers. Um, and in order for them to carry the workload that we were asking them to carry, we pulled some of the responsibilities that is a traditional project manager responsibility and placed that with a team lead or a division manager, um, in order to help them out. Well, over time, you know, what I saw is that some of our very young project managers weren't developing as fast in some areas of project management because they weren't fully responsible for all of the things that a project manager is responsible for. So we've really made an intentional focus to give project managers both the responsibility and the authority to execute on all of the things related to their contracts. Um,
Yep.
we have some bumpers, we have some rules, but they are responsible for that contract. Everything from client management, client satisfaction to quality control, quality of the product, delivery on time and within budget. All of the things associated with project management that's a traditional role, we have made sure to reiterate to our project managers that that is their responsibility and they have full authority to execute on that. So that's a really important piece for us.
we've sat in a lot of rooms with y'all, over the last several months, and as we watch some of these really great engineers accept the responsibility to leading these teams and taking on that PM role, especially on your practice side of the business, I've heard several of them say, "Man, I've gotta be as good at management as I am technically." And I've heard a few of them say, "I gotta be as good at management as I am technically." And then I hear them say, "I gotta be as great at leading people as I am management and technically." It's just really interesting to watch these people, like, literally, you're watching them grow, personally grow in these sessions, and they're getting the whole hang of it where they're going from technical expertise to management expertise to leadership expertise. And some of them are like, man, you've got guys and they're like 28, 30, and then you got guys that are 48, 50, and you got a couple guys that are 58, 60, whatever. And men and women both they're all going through this growth, and it's because you guys are saying we can't serve Tulsa anymore. We can't serve Fort Collins any more than we are if we don't help you step up and equip you to lead more teams. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to watch that evolution. It's painful, I think, for them. Do you feel like that's something that people don't talk about much? You think it's painful for them a little bit?
I think in some ways, I think in some ways it might be. You know, one of the things that I didn't touch on earlier that I'm glad you brought up is that, we focused on community engagement, we focused on project managers, but at the organizational level, we're focusing on leadership and teaching people how to lead effectively. We have a lot of great leaders, but of course, we're a pretty sizable organization, and we have varying degrees of competency in leadership. We're all learning, right? I mean, we're all learning to be better leaders all the time, no matter where we're at in that journey. But I think that we've really started to focus on what does it mean to lead people and to teach people how to lead people, and
Mhm.
and that's been pretty fun to watch too.
Yeah. A lot of times when we're in these sessions with you guys, your people, like, don't wanna screw up so bad. Like, we hear this from your team all the time, like, "Man, I just don't wanna screw this up. Tracy's giving me this opportunity. I don't wanna disappoint Tracy." We hear that a lot with you guys, and we don't always hear that. And it's really kind of fun to see them going, just what do I do? What do I do? It's like they want to learn that. So it's kind of refreshing. I appreciate the attitude there in that culture. The other thing to bring up, I think it's important to talk about with PEC and the decentralization in my opinion, is you guys have made a really big investment in what I would refer to as corporate support teams, in-house HR and in-house marketing and in-house sales efforts, in-house IT. And I feel like part of decentralization is you've brought in new leaders in a lot of those roles, like Christina in marketing, where like she's a passionate marketer, but she loves developing marketing people. And it just seems like you're deploying more of those resources, pushing it more local, and you're equipping them to be more well-rounded professionals and leaders, not just more technical, right?
Yeah.
Um, Talk about that. What was the decision? Why are you doing that so much?
We had 5 years ago, we had 3 or 4 people in our marketing department. And, we've grown to a firm of about 400 people, and it just wasn't enough. And so that resulted in our technical staff having to do a lot of marketing functions or tasks to get things like proposals out and prepare for interviews and, and it, we're engineers. We're not great at that. So hiring Christina and Christina building that team, I'd have to go back and count now to see how many people are in there, but it's at least triple that size of 3 or 4, at least triple. And it is allowing us, um, to be more efficient in the pursuit of in the development of proposals and preparation of interviews. We're much more efficient now than we were 5 years ago. And in addition to that, we're doing a better job of marketing. So there's the proposal, there's the project pursuit aspect of a marketing department, and then there's the marketing of the company, the brand representation of the company. And that's something that we had never done before that we're now doing. And I think it's having a big impact on our position in the marketplace. And it's also having a big impact on our staff within our company because they see the things that are going on. They see the social media posts. They see um, interesting things about projects that we're doing or interesting things that we're doing in the marketplace or in communities. And it's an energizing thing when people see that. And so that's been fantastic for us.
I tell you what, one thing that you guys that I've seen inside PC is you now have team leads or people who are managing groups of people and teams. You hear them and literally sometimes for the first time, they're going, "Hey, let's call the marketing department, see what they think we should do." It's like, holy smokes, the engineers and the project manager actually appreciate, understand, and now value and wanting to work with their
Yeah.
internal marketing department. Like, that's actually a barrier that we run into in a lot of companies is that the engineers or the people in the practice areas don't necessarily sometimes value or get along with or utilize the resources in the corporate support team. But at PEC, you're really starting to see it cross collaboration of that. Now that might just me being overly optimistic, but man, it sure seems that way. Is that what you're seeing?
It is. I think that our marketing team, I think they're fantastic. I think they're doing a fantastic job. I think they have, in addition to the support and appreciation of the executive leadership team, I think they have the appreciation of our staff, and
Hmm.
that's really important. And
Yeah.
they've earned a lot of credibility because they're very good at their jobs and they're providing a huge value to to the company, and it's being seen across the organization.
Now, I brought up Christina in the marketing department, but I mean, certainly there's same amount of learning and collaborations coming from your HR department. I mean, you have literally engineers who are literally learning the fundamentals of recruiting and the fundamentals of storytelling and the fundamentals of interviewing, right, from an HR department that, your HR department's been good in the past, but like that department truly loves your people, it seems like. And there's just, not all HR people and engineers get along. It's an unpopular conversation, but
Yeah,
that in your county department, your county department's going through a software evolution and new practices and processes, which is
yeah,
painful, but it is cool to see that inner collaboration.
it is.
We hear this is an old mindset, Mike, but oh, that's the over. You remember if people still say that, but oh, that's the overhead, but
Yeah,
it's fun to actually see a company where it's like, yeah, it's freaking overhead, but it's actually helping you. It's
yeah,
like it's what it's
yeah,
supposed to be doing.
yeah.
Well, is there anything else, that you would anything else on your mind? Because we run into a lot of people who are on the fence. They see the centralization, they're comfortable because they're in the central office. Um, and that's just not working anymore. Is
Yeah.
there any encouragement, or what would you say to someone that's on the fence about decentralizing and really empowering people like you're doing?
Well, I'd say that our employees are happier and
Mm,
and more excited about their work and the impact that work has on society as a whole, or the places where they're working, the communities they're working in. So I think that, in order for people to really, one thing that I think this is doing for us is that when you have when you don't help people understand how their work impacts the end user, or the community that you're working in. If people don't understand that, and if they don't, if they're coming to work for a paycheck, they're not generally, they're either complacent and they're not great employees, or they're unhappy. And
mhm,
and so when we can get people are high achievers are energized by taking on responsibility and having the authority to execute on that responsibility to make something happen. And when we
mhm,
give them that, they they thrive and they're
yeah,
happy, and we have a lower turnover as a result, right? We're not losing high achievers because they feel like where am I going to go from here? They see a pathway. So I would just say, if you want staff to really be excited about what they're doing, give them responsibility
great point. Yeah,
and
you used a
authority to execute on it.
Yeah, I was just saying that, and you said the word authority to go with it, because I hear people give people all their responsibility along, but the authority doesn't always come, and I think that's a great piece of advice right there. So, well, Mike, hey man, I know I took a little longer than what I promised, but I just couldn't shut down what you were throwing down. It was what people need to hear. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for your leadership, and certainly our partnership. But I thank you for your time today. If you're in Mike's shoes, or if you're a leader that sees the centralization mindset in your business, it, Mike and I and many other leaders realize that it's not easy to change. It takes a lot of courage, but it is absolutely the best transition to make if you truly want to help people reach their potential and want to empower them to do something special. But it takes courage, and Mike and I would certainly encourage you to lead on because your team certainly needs you.